Hello, and welcome to this video where we're going to take a whistle-stop tour of the new features of Cubase 11. There's deep dive videos elsewhere on the channel, but this is the executive summary that should help you make the decision as to whether or not buying or upgrading is going to be the thing for you. So, let's get into it. So here we are in Cubase Pro 11, and the first thing you'll notice is that this is definitely a case of evolution, not revolution. There isn't a sudden change to having a different workflow with a clip launcher like Live or Bitwig, or any other changes like that. We're still talking Cubase. The UI is very similar to how it was before with some subtle changes. So let's take a look at the new features, the first of which is that the sampler track has some new features. It now has LFOs. We have two LFO sections with a reasonable degree of control, and they can be applied to 4 parameters across that sample. Sampler track also has slicing mode, where you can slice samples automatically and create MIDI from them, much like you would have done with Recycle back in the day. Talking of Recycle, there's also the ability to load Rex files, Rex 1 and Rex 2, opening up the ease of importing this kind of content. This is all covered in the sampler track video elsewhere on the channel. In addition, Frequency 2 finally has dynamic EQs. So you can see here we have band 5, which is operating dynamically, and it will react to the audio that passes through it. In addition to this, Frequency has up to 8 sidechains available, allowing other tracks to influence this dynamic EQ. Here you can see that band 2 and band 5 have been set up, and they will react dynamically to the kick and the snare on other tracks. You can see how to set this up in the Frequency video elsewhere on the channel. Pitchbend and MIDI continuous controller editing has been much simplified, with the addition of curves to interpolate between points. So here, rather than having the hundreds of points we would have had, we've only got 6, and then these curves allow us to smoothly transition between them. The same is true for Pitchbend, with the addition of snap as well. And once more, you can see that in a separate video on the channel. The Scale Assistant allows you to be shown or even fixed to scale notes only when using the key editor. Here it's been set to C pentatonic, and if we click Show Scale Guide Notes, only the notes in white appear in the scale. It's also possible to snap pitch editing, and now, as you can see, only those notes will be input. If I try and input anything else, such as drawing a line, you'll see they will fix to that, and you can also quantize existing pitches to the scale. This is a really useful addition and makes it much easier to understand what notes you should be putting in, providing you have some idea of what scale it is, or you can always just take a punt, pick a scale, and see how it goes. Global tracks, such as marker tracks, can also be seen in the key editor, so this can be really useful when you make use of these kind of things for markers for positions you need to edit, timing, etc. ARA support has been improved so that now Cubase doesn't do a mixdown before handing the audio over to the extension. So for instance, previously applying a fade in and then assigning the ARA extension would have led to a mixdown being done. This can break some workflows, so this is welcome, if a small change. There are 2 new plugins, Squasher, which is a multi-band upwards and downwards compressor, which can have some really strong effects on your audio, again covered in a separate video, and also the multi-band imager plugin. Once again, This is reasonably simple. It just gives us control of stereo width in each of the bands that you set up. If you're using Cubase Pro, you'll have the ability to add a queue of jobs to your project, which can be hugely useful if you have to export your project in different formats, or possibly creating stems, particularly if they're with and without effects. All of this gets saved with the project, and again, there's a video on this elsewhere on the channel. Now we're on to some more minor improvements. The first of which is marker tracks can now show the lines from those markers. This can make navigation in a large project much easier, as coloured marker lines can be seen throughout the entire height of the project. So when you've got 100 odd tracks, this is pretty useful. When using the divided track editor, there's now clear indication as to which area is in focus, either the upper area or the lower one. And one small but welcome change is that double-clicking a note in the key editor now deletes it. It's also possible to hide track versions in the track list. There's been quite a few removals, including a couple of audio wave formats and several legacy remotes, including the Tascam US428 and Steinberg's Houston. So if you're still using one of those as a remote, you may want to consider whether or not you want to upgrade, as you'll no longer be able to use it in the way you were before. There were plans for a MIDI control API to be available, so you would be able to program your own interface, but this has not happened in the final version of Cubase 11. So as mentioned at the start of this is an evolution, not a revolution. There's some nice new features, but there's definitely nothing earth-shattering or that will keep you up at night if you miss out on it. So there you have it, a summary of the new features of Cubase 11. Now, whether or not upgrading is going to be the right thing for you is really a decision for you to make, having seen them. I've got some clients who are still using Cubase 7, perfectly happy, and others who want to be up to date with every new release. It's really a personal choice thing. Hopefully seeing this has helped you make that decision, and if you need more details, you can look at the deep dive videos which are elsewhere on the channel and linked in the description. I hope you found this video useful, and if you have, please consider liking and subscribing and checking out the other content that's on here, as all of this helps the channel get recommended to other people who haven't seen it yet. Also, don't forget that my new version of the Complete Guide to Music Technology featuring Cubase 11 is available from Amazon.com. There's a link in the description to a video with more details about that. I hope you found this video useful, and if you have, we'll see you again soon.